Okay, so we're doing this chiaroscuro thing where we're working with color and we're working with contrast. And I gave you guys options of watercolor or colored pencil. Um, so this morning, when I talked to my first period class, I did a video of how to do it with watercolor, and it is posted up. Well, no, that's the video I'm waiting to post actually at the moment. Let me do this real quick. And this. So you get a little bit of a preview of what's going on here. So if you're doing this with watercolors, you really have to slowly build your watercolors because they are transparent. So this was like as much as I could get done in, I don't know, 23 minutes, from the drawing to the blending. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, a wet brush right here would take and blend this a lot more evenly. I should come back even with a wet brush here and kind of make that. And I should darken a lot of this. So far, the only thing that I feel really good about, and this was a fluke, was this super dark shadow I put under the hand and the one I started to do under the feet. But this is all through rushing. Now, after throwing that into Photoshop, I could actually bring up the black of the background a little bit. I could have gone solid black around it and made it look more glowy from the front. But the amount of time I was putting into it really wasn't going to be for the outcome, because this was a sketch that I decided to try to paint over. Now, everything you shouldn't do in a painting drawing is here in this watercolor. So the sketchy lines, not a great idea for a watercolor. The heavy lines, not a good idea for a watercolor. A lot of the stuff should be taken out. And who knows, man, maybe I'll go back and I'll mess with it a little more and even bring up some of these darker shadows back here on the neck, leaving the face, most of the face white to catch that kind of glow, or at least the parts that would be glowy should we need it. All right, so let me stop that share. I also gave you the option to do this in color pencils. So I'm going to try to do a demo in color pencil over here. You guys are more than free to work while I'm doing this demo, because I'm going to chat while I'm doing it. And we're going to try to finish this project up by the end of this week so we can hop into something new next Monday. So let me go over to my USB camera. A pencil sketch that I started right after I got done with lunch. And I got a bunch of Ticonderoga color pencils. Now, Ticonderoga color pencils used to be the bomb. Not so much anymore. I don't know what happened. I think they got bought out by a different company, and that company did not want to spend the kind of money to make these things look awesome. So they stopped making them awesome. Okay. So the first thing I got to do after I've drawn this, and being that I'm color penciling over it, not as big of a deal as if I would do watercolors, just because unless I pressed really hard, these pencil lines should not show through. All right. Although there is a bit of a mess around this shoulder here. All right. Now, what you can do is you could go through this and figure out exactly where all the super dark areas are going to be, and you can outline them if you want. Like I would have a ton of darkness here. I might even have darker dark right on this edge where this body would naturally curve. I'm definitely going to get some solid blacks in around here, maybe a few highlights. This side, I'll do some regular shading. Most of this leg will be on the lighter side. This will be on the lighter side. This side of the bosom, that side of the bosom. This arm, this part of the arm. This whole underside, though, it's going to be her magical spell that's creating this light source. So this is kind of how I do magical spells in the book. I basically break them up into mystic writing. I usually give them a bit of thickness. And if this was more about drawing than it was, or if this was more about how to do forms in the air, I would spend a little more time on these, breaking them into letters that don't look like letters and that sort of thing. But this is really supposed to be about color. So all I have to know for sure is my light source is coming from this hand and it's going this way. So I shall pick a color in this wonderful low light situation that I have here. And I'm going to start with first her dress. So I have what I believe to be a blue. It was a very dark blue. Okay. So I'm going to start adding my color here. This is actually a blue purple. And it's not that I'm particularly colorblind, but for the best vision you have of what I have going on here in front of you, I actually have to go from that to that to that, which is the lowest setting of light. So I'm not completely working in the dark, but I've definitely had better coloring setups here. I'm going in my oval pattern. I'm going relatively quickly. Part of the reason I'm going relatively quickly. All right, so I've got this blue purple for her top. I think I'm going to leave her cufflinks white-ish as her collar. You're such a fashion designer. Oh, yes, I know. All right, now I'm going to find white. I'm going to hope I find white. And I'm going to start putting white over the top of this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want this part to be lighter. In part because if you do not have a blender at your disposal, then the white color pencil will function to help you move those colors around and make them a little more even. All right. You do have to remember when working with colored pencils, though, your binder for your color pencil is wax. So if you oversaturate the wax, it's going to be problematic for you being able to blend colors. In fact, so unsure of this color and how it's going to behave once I start putting black on, I am going to switch, that's green, to my black. Well, I'm going to check this black. That black looks brown. Whenever in doubt, check your shortest color pencil. That is most likely the black. All right. So I'm going to start adding the black to this, which actually now looks like purple. Pop a skin tone in here, but I'm also going to let it fade as I get toward my light source, depending on how powerful that light source is. Now I got a couple options here as I go through this face and just this overall color on Our Lady. I could go purpley for the shadows, or I could go darker brown, either of which should be okay. But I will need a color for her legs if they're going to be tights, or if that whole thing is going to be a dress. It's really split up relatively high. So if anybody in the chat wants to put out their fashion advice for me. And just like with the watercolors, it's really a process of building value on top of value, seeing what you can get away with, what's going to work. A lot of times color pencil is pretty unforgiving. But you know what? If you start off light and you build from there, it's usually not too bad. You're not going to do some sort of irreparable damage that's not fixable down the line. The other thing is I'm not 100% sure what color I want to make her magic glow. So if I make it like a nice green, and I come back and pop some green on top of that, it should look pretty cool overall. All right, so I'm layering another blue over the top of this just so my colors become more vibrant. Anytime you can mix up colors and get, I don't want to say get as many of them in there as you can, because if everything looks like a rainbow, it's going to feel like a Skittles commercial, where you're going to come off as one of those, oh my God, they're that happy as an artist, are they? That seems contradictory. Call this camera a bad camera would be kind. But what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to actually add my light source. So I am creating sections within here to hopefully serve as her magic. and light up the entire area. So I'm putting down the green. I'm putting down the yellow on top of the green so I can get a yellow-green kind of glow. Haven't done much with her hand yet, but I am going to work this yellow into her arm. I'm going to work this yellow up her arm a little bit, into her collar, cheekbone, side of the bosom, side of the coat. I'm also going to do the same thing with the green. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a decent pencil sharpener. If you ever find yourself in lack of a decent pencil sharpener, grab a really sharp knife. Preferably don't do that where you just rip the tip off of it. My grandpa used to do this for every single pencil, which is weird because he did have a pencil sharpener. I don't know why he didn't bother to ever use the thing. All right, but I'm starting to put the green on top of the yellow so I can get kind of this yellow-green glow to her face, which is kind of what I was hoping for with this whole thing, though we never got to it during class. We also had a serious lack of what I would call decent colored pencils. I still am using poor quality colored pencils, which is unfortunate. Now, the question might be, why am I putting black over blue? Well, I plan on fading my black out to blue because I'm lazy. But I did want a blue black, kind of indicating that it was night. Once again, for all my complaining, Prismacolor's way better than Ticonderoga or Blick. I doubt I would have the hand cramp I have now. I also doubt I'd be drawing as sloppy as I am now because some of this is just straight up from frustration. Trying to make everything else darker so that the glowy colors can be the glowy colors. What I did is I grabbed a thing of Prismacolor sticks, which are the inside of the color pencil. These things are awesome for really big areas. But as in every color pencil, the more you put down, the more wax you're actually adding to your paper, which means your mixing of colors is not going to be possible if there gets too much of a mask sheen down upon your paper. All right. Being that this is black, I'm probably not putting any colors over it as it is. And what I really need to do here for this lighting effect to work, to make this image look like it's glowing, is I need to make the background dark enough that those colors start to pop out. So contrast is kind of the key to having this work as far as the chiaroscuro effect, whether it's in color pencil, whether it's in painting. Some would even say is even in just drawing with pencil. You know, if you want it to look like something is glowing, then the rest of the area around it has to be far darker.